Hey, can you guys talk for a second?
Sure.
Now? I'm loud now.
Testing.
Nah!
So, this is BitShifter, and you guys are?
We're Plastic Games. I am Paul Dana, the programmer.
I'm Jim Horn, one of the designers, artists.
Starting. How did you guys come up with the idea for BitShifter?
It came to me in a dream, and then I forgot about it in another dream.
Okay, I'm liking the reference.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It kind of evolved. It's a deeply geeky game. I'm a deeply geeky guy, so...
It just evolved from geekiness?
Yeah, well, it kind of changed. So the original concept that I had so long ago was to try to remake one of my favorite arcade-style games that was 2D to remake it in 3D.
What was it?
It was for the Atari ST and possibly the Amiga. It was called Oids.
Oids?
Oids, yeah, and it was kind of a combo of lunar lander / defender / the momentum of like asteroids, right?
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, and it was like this inverted theme where you were like saving all the robots from their human overlords. You'd have to go in and like...
That got dark.
Yeah, really. And you'd have to shoot these prisons and the little robots would come out. You'd have to kind of land like Lunar Lander. And so
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was a fun game. It did not translate into 3D at all.
Oh.
And so getting some advice from a guy that I knew, he said, maybe you can change the objective, switch around what you're doing.
Okay.
And try.
And there it became a game about robots?
Yeah.
And computers?
Yeah, inside a computer, right. Before that, it was just sort of like, a place that you saved robots from, and then it became a virus inside a computer, and you were trying to fight this virus. So it was just sort of a pivot, I guess, from the original idea, and that was more compelling. It was a lot of fun.
Very geeky and computery.
Yeah, it kind of is. That became sort of self-reinforcing over time. Oh, it's inside a computer. What's going on? We work with computers, and so there's a lot of references in there to...
Yeah, I have to ask, what are these things?
These guys, huh? These ugly things.
What is that?
What is that thing? I don't know. It's some kind of manifestation of the virus. We call them pop-ups. Yeah, we call them Squidipus. We call them Octorocks.
To me, they remind me of a really screwed-up version of a Dooku from Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, they
especially Majora's Mask.
Yeah, we've had Octorocks. I totally forgot about the Dookus.
Yeah, so we had an incredibly unoriginal name for them internally. We called them shell turrets. And we've had people give us all kinds of awesome names for them over time. Shell turrets was the worst one. I think the best is Squidipus, but that's kind of obscure, so I think we're going to end up...
Sounds amazing. It rolls right off the tongue.
Squidipus, right? I mean, what is this Squidipus, right?
You won't forget Squidipus.
Well, Indy came up with that, so yeah, maybe we're going to roll with that one, who knows. But, yes, this is just supposed to be how the virus kind of fights back at you,
Fair enough. And these things, which are possibly the most annoying things in the world.
Same story. We had terribly, unimaginative, they were called lamps. And somebody started calling them infected Teslas, and we're like, that's pretty awesome.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, so we went with that one for sure. That's an easy call, right?
And Squidipus.
In Squidipus, exactly.
Those are some awesome enemies.
Yeah, we're sort of happy with the way that whole sort of thing went when we were first developing this game. It was kind of hard to sell the idea that you're inside a computer when people are seeing like grass and trees. And to me, that made perfect sense. It's like inside a computer, it's like their world. They just see it as perfect,
Yeah, it's a different world. It's just a computer world.
Right, but it was a little bit too abstract for people when it was just the data stream, which is like the river and stuff. And so we had to sell that whole idea on, okay, well, what does it look like inside a computer and stuff,
Okay.
So,
So you eventually came up with the idea of like very computer-looking buildings, but also grass and trees.
Yeah, that's all Jim. Jim was the one who helped us with all of the sort of selling the world as being inside a computer and yet still having grass and sky. Exactly.
Jim, explain yourself.
Well, when I came to the team, this game was already, somewhat in development. And it was very pastoral. It didn't have, it just kind of like the grass was just normal grass, and it just was, there was mountains, and you had and there was just some computery parts here and there. There was like fans that would blow you away and other types of things that were in there that were neat. And then they had, the Zorpass that you see on the ground that the bits are cleaning up. Those were kind of just used for power. They weren't really used as circuitry. I came in, and after few revisions, this is kind of where it came out with. You know, I was a big fan of Reboot when I was a kid, and actually a lot of people kind of have thought of the show Reboot when they reference this. And there's a little bit of, like, it's not exactly that, but that's kind of what I always kind of had in mind.
It's a carbon copy
No, it's not a
of
carbon
Reboot.
copy. It's
You heard it here first, folks.
But yeah, it just started playing around with it, and I wanted to create something that, you know, looked like it could be a real world that, you know, that you could see, but kind of have a little bit more computery. But that's hence, like, you know, some of those things just look like apartment buildings.
Fair enough.
Done like that on purpose, because, you know, you're going to have an apartment building, and what's an apartment building look like? Well,
So-
it doesn't look like anything.
I have not gotten very far into the game, so I'm not sure. But are there, like, civilians? Like, besides the random cars driving by?
Just the cars. The citizenry is wisely keeping away from this virus.
Which is fair. I'm just confused why the cars are still going by. The road is red right here.
Right. They should
Does
be
that look
fleeing
safe?
for their lives, right? Isn't
They just keep coming.
extreme danger here.
They don't care. They gotta get to work.
Well, it's like, if you're driving your car and all of a sudden there's a little bit of fire in front of you. Well, if you go fast enough, you can get through it, just like in the movies, you know. So they're just like, all right, I gotta go. We gotta get out of here.
Plus,
Go.
they see
Look at that. He just drove through a squidipus.
they can see that you have the problem well in hand. You know.
Yeah.
I can see Flash Buyhouse is cleaning it up. I will be fine.
He's there. It'll be fine.
We planned this vacation to Schenectady for weeks.
We're going on vacation. I don't care what's going on outside.
Yeah, which I totally appreciate.
Their little bots in the back. Are we there yet?
Yeah, exactly. So should we explain some of the mechanics here? I know you had done a Let's Play that showed the mechanics of it more. If somebody's hopping in and just seeing this video, they might be a little confused
Sounds
what
good.
you're doing there. All right, so the goal of the game is to clean up the virus that you see is red here, and if it reaches that river, which is called the data stream, then game over. And you've also got only 5 ships on normal difficulty, which is what you're playing on. So you have a limited amount of ships. You're in some danger now. Your health is like tenuous at 21, or what is it? No, it's 31. I mean, yeah. So virus travels much more quickly down these electrical paths that we call these Zor paths, and so it's your job to clean it up, but also to pay a lot of attention to where it connects to the data stream so you can
It has a very interesting RTS element to it. Like, you have to throw the bits down and then kind of let them do it.
We're still to this day debating what genre does this really go in? Is this a strategy game? Is it a tactical game? Is it an action game? Is it like, because it's hard to define what it is, because there is RTS elements, but there's no resource management, for instance. So, you know.
And you could theoretically, I guess, beat the game without using your bits. Your gun
you had
does
powerful
destroy
enough
the
weaponry,
virus.
you could do it without them. That's right.
I highly doubt it's possible, but theoretically you could do it.
There's some ambiguity there. And, you know, if you say real-time strategy, that's so misleading considering that this is the game.
Yeah.
Right? That'll get people wrong.
If you said real-time strategy game and then showed them this, they might be a little angry.
No.
Yeah, it's just not very true. And it's not even as much as some game, you know, there's one of my favorite real-time strategies, Peakman. And that's about as far away from a real-time strategy as you can really get. You know what I mean? And it has some of the elements of this game where you're in the action, but still Peakman has the obvious resource management kind of a thing, even though it's themed very differently. It still is legitimately an RTS. This game really isn't. It's some kind of hybrid between, you know?
The extent of resource management is that you hold 8 bits and you have to use them.
And then you can only carry 1 bomb at a time, and you get to program these makers, so you have to decide, what am I going to get? Am I going to get a speed power up so I can get across the map fast? Am I going to get like a cleaner bomb so I can help with the cleanup? All right, so you collected enough gold bugs and you get to level up, and you're leveling up your beam length. That's very wise.
I like the beam length.
I can get the bits faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, smart. Yeah,
That's very smart.
When I figured out I could pick up anything with the beam thing, I was so happy. I could pick up bombs, I can pick up health.
Yeah, it's another aspect that we get. Sometimes we get hit on, and other people comment how much they like it, where we've been very careful about how heavy-handed we are with the tutorial and how much we try to lead you to figure out on your own rather than just plain up tell you. And, you know, I think that's kind of a theme of the game, right? You're kind of on your own, and you have to figure this out.
Yeah.
I agree. And it starts very quickly. You're on your own like a third of the way through the training mission.
That's true.
It gets bad quick.
Yeah, we're gonna improve that as well. When we first put all that together, we didn't have the villains, and
Really?
we're not all great at writing the story. Yeah, so you would think that at some point the villain was going to take credit for all this destruction and stuff, but you'd be disappointed because in the current version that's not in there. But we have the villains created art-wise.
So who did it?
Reggie.
It doesn't matter. It's over now.
Yeah, that's right. It's just these things happen, right? It's
We don't have to
karma.
put him in jail or anything.
Clearly, we've been living our evil lifestyle.
I have one criticism of the game that I just can't understand. It's not a big one. In the first mission, the fleet gets
I
destroyed.
think I know where this is going. I might know where it's going.
No.
What's up?
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I die, and I'm in another ship.
And you're like, wait a minute now.
Yeah. Excuse me? Why didn't someone get in that ship and help me?
Here's the thing. These mysteries are hard to fathom,
Video game logic. Yes,
Complex.
sir.
I thought you were going further with that, but no?
This is what we call a flock hole.
Quiet you. Do not pay attention to the man behind the curtain.
It does make sense in the way that it's still a video game and you need to have lives in some way.
Well, we actually played with that. There was a time when there was lives. There was a time when we took that away and there was no lives. You could destroy as many times as you want. The penalty for dying was, you drop your bits where you stand. You got to go
Oh,
get them
this is
again.
awful.
You got to go get resources again. We ended up seeing that, part of what we really got out of the hard difficulty was a lot even more ridiculous action. It cranks up both aspects to it. It becomes harder to execute on, so it becomes tactically more difficult, violence-wise, but it also becomes tactically more difficult fighting-wise. And so, having an infinite number of lives wasn't satisfying enough for the people who are hardcore, basically. And so
Those hardcore bit shifter gamers.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a an
competitive
intern
league.
with us who is just punishing. Absolutely loves the punishing difficulty levels. He just can't
And
get
we
done.
found out recently he too doesn't have that great of a computer, and he's playing the hardest difficulty possible at the closest visible distance. So he doesn't see. He's basically in a cone
That's the
around his
closest
ship.
to MLG bit shifter you will ever find. So, you did talk about designing the city. What about the bits and the characters?
So the bits go way back, right? In the very, very first version that we had, the bits actually looked a little bit more like the robots from, God, is it Borderlands or something? What is the one that's got those robots? They're kind of like an inverted triangle with like one wheel on the bottom.
Yeah, Claptrap from Borderlands.
Yeah, they have like that little. They look just like that. It was pretty funny.
But way before Claptrap.
Oh,
Just
so you guys
long-
came up with Claptrap first, too.
Like 2003.
You heard it here first, folks. Borderlands stole
Nah, I
Claptrap
think
from
we were
Bit
borrowing
Shifter.
from some Disney designs or something. Everyone does that, right? I mean, it was
Yeah.
definitely inspired by stuff that were there before. But we were all just big into robots anyway, And so the bits were, a design that was, once we decided that, you weren't just saving them, that they were going to be these like antiviral robots that helped you fight inside the computer, we thought that the really cartoony, kind of funny looking robot didn't quite work. We wanted something that was, playful.
That looked like
but
it could fight.
a little more badass, yeah, And,
Which they do now.
yeah, which they do, and they look like Stewie.
They
I don't
kind
know,
of do.
with a fucking Stewie head.
So, at what point did you add the fact that they do a backflip after the mission? Because that's amazing.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of really fun, sort of details in here.
Did you see the helicopter?
Just
Oh,
all
the
Schwada V,
helicopter.
that's definitely one of them. The backflip is one of them.
Down, yeah.
I love how it's not a parachute.
It's
You don't expect it to be a
Gadget,
parachute when you throw them from high lengths, but nope.
Yeah, totally Inspector Gadget. I love that. So yeah, that's been in there from the beginning. That helicopter's been in there for quite a long time. So, but that's been something that's been like a process. The in the game when it was first in there was no bit beam. So for quite a while we tried to play with mechanics that would let you pick up and throw and recover bits without having the beam. And so at first it was, you would sort of fly close to them and you'd pick them up and stuff. And that was really tough, Actually, at the very first, you landed and they came to you because that was part of the mechanic of the original game, that we had, right? So you would kind of land, they would roll in, you'd come up, and it was just not nearly fast-paced enough. So then we had more of like a flyby where you'd get them and stuff, and it was just frustrating. There wasn't a whole lot of control, and so that's when we invented the bubble-up state that you see, where when they're done,
Very useful.
yep, they bubble up into the sky, and you would just fly through them, and it would be kind of at their normal flight height, so it was kind of, that was the idea. But again, just not enough actual controls, since the game was about shifting the bits. You know what I mean? You
Those
could just
bits.
feel this lack of control in a way that, you know, we didn't want that, right? We didn't want that feel.
Yeah.
You couldn't put them where you wanted and stuff. And so, you know, we ended up adding the bit beam, and that helped a lot. You know, by that point, the basic elements of the game, by the time that beam went in, the game was as such complete. Didn't have all the details that it has now. There was a lot of stuff that was missing. Certainly the whole believing that you were inside a computer wasn't there and stuff. You know, and there was nothing to teach you how to play and stuff, but the basic idea of the virus traveling faster along the Zor paths, the data stream, the bits, the bit beam, all that was in place, and it was fun, but it was only fun if we explained the game.